And welcome to Coding with Jess, or afternoon if you're in another part of the world. Well, Coding with Jess is where you get to code along with me while I work on a thing. So today we're continuing our work on Mumblr. Mumblr is a decentralized blogging tool that's a kind of a microblog in the vein of Tumblr, if you remember that application from way back in the day. So we've been working on that for, I think this might be the 6th session on Mumblr. I'm starting to lose count, starting to be less meaningful because it's every week we work on Mumblr. So I'm pretty excited about today's session, actually. One thing you'll notice if you were on last week's session is I was saying that this week I'm planning on live streaming from a camper at the lake. You'll notice that this doesn't look like a camper at the lake, looks like my normal setup. So what's up with that? Well, the short answer is my wife and I have 4 kids and we were planning on going down to the lake and it got really hot and my kids are pretty young. I have a 6-month-old and that kind of stuff. And my wife was like, you know what, let's head back to the house, like wait out the heat wave. So we are actually back at the house for today, and then tonight we'll be heading back to the lake and spending the next couple of days there. So Jordan Lake is awesome. I saw Million Grad asked in the chat. Really enjoyed. We were there for Monday and Tuesday morning, and then we ended up leaving on Tuesday about midday. So anyway, we'll be heading back tonight. I'm kind of bummed to not have the opportunity to live stream from there, but I did kind of scope out what the setup would be like. Kind of took my MiFi access point around to see where I would have decent signal, and then also kind of like what that setup might be like. So I'm hopeful to do that again at some point in the future. It's only 30 minutes away, and so yeah, we'll try it out. It'll happen at some point. So since we're in our regular spot today, what the heck are we working on? Well, pretty pumped about this. So I've been thinking a lot about how Mumblr works, and if you've been following along with this series, you'll know that the reason that I'm building Mumblr is not necessarily to build yet another blogging tool, but really to understand how decentralized applications work. That being said, I did want a real-world use case for something that I would actually use. So if you've been reading my newsletter, you'll know that I've been posting a little bit about understanding what decentralized applications are and all that kind of stuff. So let's, before we start, let's go ahead and, again, if this is your first time on Coding with Jess watching this, we do 25-minute work sessions, 4 of them. So the next 2 hours, we're going to be working on Mumblr in 25-minute blocks with 5-minute breaks. So I'm going to go ahead and start our first Pomodoro and type that over to the back. So what we're working on today is I've been going back and forth with Mumblr about how I should architect the system. And what we've arrived at so far is that we have 2 different components. I wrote about this morning a little bit in the README to Mumblr, which is now updated as of like 45 minutes ago, or 37 minutes ago, says GitHub. So go check that out if you want. This kind of outlines some of the distinctive properties of Mumblr. But one of the things that I talked about in there, conceptually, there we go, spelling error right away. So I'll go fix that at some point. Somebody can submit a PR and I'll merge it in. But conceptually, there's kind of 2 different pieces to Mumblr. Right now, there's a user interface, which is this repo, and then there's a static site generator, which really I should update that static site generator right now. Well, we're going to kill it today, so if it's still around at the end of the day, I'll put it. But we have another thing called Mumblr generator that we've been using to generate a simple blog from this front end. So the front end looks like this: mumblr.netlify.app gives you the connects to Fission, lets you write title, write body, hit publish, and it writes a Markdown file to IPFS. And then the actual blog looks like this. Here's an example of one. This is mine. Obviously not keeping it up to date very well, but hopefully I'll start to use it once we built this thing. But right now, those 2 things are 2 separate repositories. And what I've been struggling with is this. When you write a Markdown file to IPFS, you really want the blog to regenerate right away. And having two different systems where I have to like write over here and then I have to go kick off this build over there is kind of annoying. And so I've been experimenting and talking with the Fission team about the architecture. In fact, there's been some like back and forth on this about can I have like basically like a cron job in the file system or in the IPFS ecosystem. It's like, hey, when this directory changes, like execute this block of code. And the short answer is that doesn't exist yet in the file system, or sorry, the IPFS/Filecoin ecosystem, but people are working on it. So at some point we may be able to extract this mumblr generator thing into like almost like a smart contract or a web or a you could think of it as a serverless function or something along those lines. There's some hacky ways to do this, but I was trying to keep this thing as simple as possible. The other option would have been to set up mumblr generator as a server with like a lightweight API that when mumblr wrote to the file system, you could like, it would automatically send a post to the API via API to this little guy, to this server, which would then go read things from IPFS. I didn't like that either. And here's the real reason is that the other thing I experimented with over the last week is I got this working, stream.jessmart.in. Now, this might not look like much. In fact, it's just, isn't it the same thing as mumblr-jess.netlify.app? Not exactly. You'll notice that the posts here are a little bit different. So change the mental model from login to logout. Why would that be? Well, it's generated at a different time. But the difference here is that this stream.jessmart.in is actually hosted in my file system. So if I jump in here, go to public, where did I put it? Now I have to remember where I put it. Apps, mumblr? No, I think it's probably under public apps. That's it, public apps mumblr. Okay, so under public apps mumblr in my Fission drive, this is actually the HTML and the CSS, the static site that has been generated. Yeah, Matthias says, I could have the Mumblr website be a smart client that knows how to read a public WinFS and show a nice website, but then you don't have a static site anymore. Exactly. So I struggled with that that same concept of I could have this guy right here read from a public directory in WinFS and then know how to turn it into a blog. But I think the static site has a lot of advantages. So I'm going to go with here's my proposed sort of middle ground between the two. Right now, I figured out how to host things in my web native file system directory, like in the user, basically each user has their own file system. And so right now we're storing the Markdown files here. As you guys know, here's the posts. And I was like, well, what if I just store the site, the static site there as well? How does that work? And so I went down that path and like understood how that worked, and then also figured out how to get a custom domain set up to point to the most recent version of this site. And the most recent version, if you guys remember several episodes back, we talked about content addressing and how you need to have like name addressing, which this is name addressing, map onto content addressing. You need to be able to look up the most recent content address for a directory. So I learned a lot about how that worked over the last week and got this set up. And so the new plan, and this is what we're going to start working on today, is we are going to have Mumblr, this front-end client, be able to do two things. It's going to be able to write Markdown files to web native file system. And so it'll be a really simple writer application, right? Other things can write to Mumblr as well. I mean, to that directory as well, right? Like you could write them in Fission Drive, which is actually, Fission Drive is fairly full featured. Like you could come in here, click into posts. We've done this a couple times. You can click add and create down here and like write a Markdown file. Actually, sorry. There's a way to do this. Anyway, I guess you can add one from your local file system, like drop it on here. So you could use Fission Drive. You could write a little CLI tool that allows you to like quickly write posts to that. So that's one half. Mumblr is going to be a user interface for writing Markdown files easily to your web native file system, to the public version of your web native file system. Here's the other thing it's going to do though. Mumblr is also going to be the static site generator. I know that's a little weird because it's a front-end application, and in the browser, you're going to load up this application to like generate the site. But I think it has two advantages. One, because we have the user's keys, we can actually, in this front end, and when I say we have them, what I should say is because the user is loading this front end application in their browser where their keys live, the access to that they have to Web Native File System, we can actually write that statically generated site to their Web Native File System in like a public directory and then give them back a URL where that's hosted. I'll have to go remind myself of like what the actual DNS entry that this is pointing to. It's not nearly as nice of a URL as this is, but they'll get one automatically they can basically, I can give them like a web gateway URL that to IPFS that gives them a place where their static site is hosted immediately. That has several advantages right now. The way that Mumblr generator works is you're required to like run your own Mumblr generator on Netlify. Yes, Matthias, I'm actually going to get to that. Matthias asks about Svelte. So again, Mumblr is going to have these two pieces. It's going to be a writer to write Markdown files, and it's going to be a static site generator that can write that static site to Web Native File System and give the user back a URL. The user can go and do the work that I did this week, and I'm going to document how that works to set up a DNS entry to point to their blog so that they can have like a nice URL. But the cool thing is they will own all of that infrastructure, which is pretty cool that Mumblr can have that functionality. Eventually, down the road, I'd love for the static site generator portion of Mumblr to live in something like a smart contract or a serverless function that operates in the IPFS ecosystem and that Mumblr just accesses. And the reason it needs to live in that ecosystem is because keys. Remember, I was just saying the reason to have this working as in the browser is because it has access to the user's IPFS. And if we like run it as a server, there are questions of like, how do we give access to it? It gets way complicated. I won't go into all of it. So those are the two components from Mumblr. Our goal for today is whenever I click publish, we should read the most recent directory. And then I will answer Matthias' question about Svelte. Read the most recent directory of Markdown files, build the HTML and CSS, Svelte, and then write that static site to IPFS, then show a simple URL, and this will be a IPFS web gateway URL where the site can be viewed. And then what we won't get to today is this document how to point a DNS entry at some files in IPFS. Anyway, that like I said, I already did this once. I just need to write it down. Okay, so Matthias asked an important question. Svelte. So the last couple of weeks I've been playing with Svelte.js. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. It's a framework that's been around for a little while, svelte.dev, but it has gotten really, it's actually, yeah, it's really nice. And there's a thing on top of it called SvelteKit. I am not claiming to be a Svelte or SvelteKit expert at this point. I've been using it for a couple weeks on a website called Sociotechnica, which is a side project or another project that I'm working on to build like this website. And I've been impressed with how clean the API is. The nice thing about Svelte is it can be a static single page application, and they're using a static site generator under the hood called Vite. And this could potentially, I believe, be used in the browser, but we're not doing this today. So what I want to do, what I'm thinking long-term for Mumblr right now, Mumblr, if you guys have been following along, you know that it is one single ugly TypeScript file, source main.ts, that is not well factored at all. And it's amazing that all this happens in 100 lines of code, by the way, but which is like testament to the Web Native library. But it's this single TypeScript file that provides all the functionality for the writing, and then it's another single ugly TypeScript file that provides all the functionality for the static site generation. So it's 200 line files. That's it. And so today, what I want to do is take this 100-line file of mumblr generator and integrate it into mumblr so that we have a single end-to-end loop of we can write a file to via Markdown to IPFS. We can hit publish and actually publish to IPFS, and then we have a web gateway URL that the user can access. And those two things make the application entirely usable. Then right now, mumblr is pretty simple. It like generates this single page. There's no pagination. There's not even an about. I don't know why I have that link up there. Should probably take that down. There's no about page. You can't deep link into any of these URLs, for each individual post. And so the statically generated site is very simple. What I'd really like to do is, before we add a lot of functionality to the statically generated site, is move the statically generated site to Svelte. And so eventually we'll generate static sites that are Svelte based. We probably will also move the mumblr writer to Svelte just for parallelism between the two. But today my goal is to make it work. So one of my favorite programming adages is make it work, make it right, make it fast. Today we're doing the make it work part, which is get this building the static site generator moved into mumblr, make it so that we can do one complete pass of I can write something in mumblr, see it show up in IPFS, and then have a URL that's pointing to it that I can share with other people. And then I can actually start using mumblr to document writing mumblr, and I can use it for my personal purposes. And at this point also, anyone can use it. This becomes an application that is usable by an end user, not just by a developer. Right now, it's only usable by a developer because of the requirement of mumblr generator being its own thing that you have to host on Netlify and customize. So I know that's a lot of words to kind of catch you up to where we are today. So let's dive in and get started. We've got about 10 minutes left in our first Pomodoro. So let's jump into it. Matthias, I hope that asked your questions. Yeah, run Svelte in the browser or something like that is the eventual goal here, but I'm not going to tackle that today to try to kind of dodge that complexity and just take on the complexity of getting mumblr generator, which the complexity here, by the way, is the complexity that we're going to hit. Mumblr generator is written as a node application, which means that all of these libraries and imports and everything are written with the assumption that this will be running in the node environment and not in the browser's environment. That actually might make some of our life easier because we actually had to import, we had to bring in our own DOM manipulation library because we didn't have access to the DOM natively. And so now that we will, I think the static site generation is actually going to get cleaner because we're going to be able to use the browser's DOM manipulation library to build our website. There's probably other things that are going to be harder in the browser's environment than it would be in a node environment. And I mean, another thing that's going to be interesting is this library, or sorry, this utility doesn't currently use web native. It just reads those files directly from IPFS using JS IPFS, this IPFS core here. So without, when we're in the backend mumblr, we'll be in the browser, we'll have access to web native. And so we can use some of web native's, oh, that's a great point. Matthias points out that if we do this all in the browser, you'll actually be able to live preview the site before you deploy it and that kind of stuff. It'll be, I'm actually really excited about the possibilities of having the static site generator exist in this front-end application. I feel like it's going to be pretty neat. But again, we'll get there. And then as we add functionality to this, I have a couple of key functionality I want to add to the blog itself, like pagination, deep linking, and that kind of stuff. But I do want this thing to stay simple. Anyway, yeah, so we're going to run into some issues bringing mumblr generator into the browser, and let's see what we hit. Okay, so bring up Terminal. Got about 10 minutes left in this Pomodoro, so we still have some time to make some progress. I noticed that I made one small change to locally that I hadn't checked in. Shame on me. I think I was I was thinking about the connection status. Let me show you what I've got going on here. Npm run. I think it's Npm run dev. Yeah, it is. Yeah, because this is running on Vite as well, which is the same thing that underlies Svelte. Vite has also been very nice. All right, so here's my localhost copy running. I'm going to hit refresh right now, and I want you to watch this little green C. So it starts out orange, and then it goes green. And so one of the things I wanted to indicate is that like you're in the connecting state, and that it will either flip to D, a red D if you're disconnected, or a green C if you're connected. Eventually, we've already talked about like replacing this whole, not replacing, but upgrading the UX on this component so it's clear that C means connected and that like the orange is like a connecting state and that kind of stuff. So we're gonna make this like this little widget. It's gonna be pretty awesome once I get around to styling that up. But right now, the green, orange, red, I think those are evocative enough, and the C and the D give you what you need. Okay. Cool. So let me, that little change is not checked in. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to do it live and just push this straight to main. Normally I'd recommend doing this in a branch. Always do things in branches when pull requests, even when I'm working by myself. But I'm going to just, why not? Feeling risky here. Status indicator shows connecting state. Yeah, the more I've been playing with this, I really like the model of thinking about connected versus logged in, logged out, of like which resources am I connected to. I'm excited to do some more work around that stuff. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring up VS Code. Alrighty, Netlify will be kicking off an automated build of the application, and we'll get that connection status thing up here in the right hand corner soon. See how it starts out with like a red D? Oh, it's already, man, that was fast. Wow, Netlify. I guess it is like a static site. Yeah, so that's deployed already to mumblr.netlify.app. Okay, let's see here. Sorry, I just realized I've been talking really fast. When I'm excited, I start talking really fast. So I apologize if you guys have only been catching every other word. I'll try to slow down a little bit for you. Okay, so as I mentioned, ideally what we would like is the site to get built after every post is created. But what I think I want to do is kind of, for the moment, is separate those two processes. So instead of having the site get built automatically, I think we should add a publish button right up here. Like scoot this over to the left and then add a publish button right up here that publishes the new site. Maybe we'll name it something different than the publish button down here. Or maybe call it build or something along those lines. But I want to add a build button to manually kick off this process. So the first thing I'm going to do, since we only have like 4.5 minutes left in this Pomodoro, I'm going to just see if we can get the button jammed in here with a, like I click on it and get a console log message. So let's see if we can do that really fast. Index, HTML, here's our connected input button. So let's see if we can grab another one. By the way, I've been using Tailwind as well, along with SvelteKit over the last couple weeks, and it's definitely growing on me. Like it was a lot of, it felt very bootstrappy in a not good way when I first started using it, but it's starting to, I can see continuing to use it, and I'm looking forward to having that kind of nice, I've been doing the vanilla HTML and CSS and that kind of stuff on this for a little while now, and we definitely need to move to something a little bit nicer. Let's see, this connect is right there. Uh-oh. I do have like an input lag thing that I haven't solved in VS Code. There's some extension that's causing some pretty severe input lag when I open new types of files. And I say input lag, I mean from the time I open the file till I can actually edit it. I'm going to need to go through and like systematically disable a bunch of extensions to find out what's causing that. Did I call it build button? I did. No thanks, Copilot. Don't need all that. We will float it right as well. It won't need all the fanciness that this has, but it probably, yeah. All right, let's see how that looks. Oh, it does. It is going to need the margin top. Boy. Float right, margin top. Let's just do it in the browser. I love the web inspector so much. All right, why are you not picking up that class? Build button. Margin's getting overridden by input type submit. Okay, so there's a, which is why I must have used the ID for the other button. Basically, there's a rule that has higher prevalence or whatever. Let's switch the order so that we get build in the, actually, that order isn't bad. Connected in the top right and then build next to it. Yeah, that feels fine. Let's give it a little left padding to make sure that the it doesn't run right up against that other thing there. That'll be over here. Oops. Left padding. Padding left. Maybe, yeah, 12 pixels, sure. Huh. Okay, I think this is a block level element. I'm not sure why. Oh, right, because padding's internal. You silly. How about margin? Margin would be good. Margin would be good. Okay, there we go. Yeah, realize that I should probably be using flexbox for this row instead of floats, but whatevs. This is a, in some ways, this user interface is a throwaway user interface in order to, because we're going to move this thing to Svelte. And I'm really testing out the architectural technologies here and like foundational technologies to get my heads around those. Okay, so we've got 40 seconds left. Good grief. Where is connect, disconnect? Connect, disconnect. Dadgummit. There it is. Let's grab that. And down here, we'll add it at the very bottom. Build site equals build button, and then build button. Give me another second here. I think we can get this. I want to get this done before we take our first break here. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but that was pretty cool how, what should I call this? Build site. Alrighty, and let's go see if it works. Oh, it's a console log statement, not an alert. So there's console. Yep. Cool. All right. First thing done, buttons in there. Now inside here is where we will start trying to build the site in a minute when I come back. All right, gonna hit the break. It's our first 5-minute break. We are through our first Pomodoro. We'll be back in 5 minutes to pick up Pomodoro number 2. Thanks for hanging out so far. See you in a few minutes. Alrighty, moments are counting down on our Pomodoro break here. Let's see, short break, and let's go ahead and, wait, where's Pomodoro at? There it is. All right, let's start our next Pomodoro. Okay, we are on Pomodoro number 2 of 4 right now. So we've got another 90 minutes working on this problem. And we have started out by wiring up a button in here to start building the site. And we have our little event handler in here. Oops. So this, inside here, we're going to do these things. Golly, oh, the autosave thing. Okay. So we're going to start out, we need to read the most recent directory of, or the most recent Markdown files. Most recent Markdown files. Then we need to build the HTML and CSS. Then we write the static site to IPFS, and then show a simple IPFS gateway URL where the site can be viewed. So nice. This is one of the advantages of like pre-planning your work session before. These are the things I think I need to do. And you can copy them straight into your code as here's what we're going to try to accomplish. So let's start with reading the most recent Markdown files. GitHub Copilot thinks that we should read them from public posts, which is kind of funny. They're not wrong. FS is our file system, and I don't actually know if readdir is the right. I think that's a different, man. Copilot never ceases to at least amuse me, and is often helpful. All right, so let's see how we would actually do this in Web Native. So I'm going to jump over here to the Web Native docs. And the other thing I'm going to bring up is over here on the right, I'm going to bring up the mumblr generator code base. We don't necessarily need to copy, like I mentioned, or like I showed you earlier, the mumblr generator code base is, 100 lines, and it's using node-based tools as opposed to browser tools. So what we'll probably just do is kind of rewrite all this code using the other, oh man, it closed my thing. Try that again. Open recent. I would think that open recent would open a new window by default, and I have often gotten bitten by that. VS Code having different default behavior there. Okay, so yeah, we don't necessarily need to copy this over, but it might be helpful to kind of like look over here and see what's going on and how we're reading things. All right, so instead of this IPFS ls, we're going to do a read. So it's basically this right here is what's reading the most recent files from this SID. We can talk about this DNS link and all this kind of stuff later. That's basically how we map a content address to a named URL to a content address. All right, let's see. So Web Native, our file system is right here. Okay. All right, we want to, I think it's just read. Looks like that. Cat. Oh, no, it's ls. Okay. So fs.ls. It's not app path. Let's see how are we representing where we're storing the file when we store it. We get this wn.path directory posts. And then when we do the writing, okay, so it'll be the inverse of this. All right, basically make sure that fs is defined so that it's not nil. And then you should be able to say files equals await fs.ls. Just looking at think I'm going to need to do this path.file, build up a all right, that should get us all the files, I think. And then we're going to want to map over the files, read each one. So that will look something like let's go see what ls returns. ls returns a list of links to a given directory. Path returns name string, which is a link object with the file name as the key and the link as its value. Wait, what? A list. So it does return a directory, right? Let's see how it's used here. Aha, here we go. That's basically the code we want right there, is get each file, iterate over, map over the links. They have this, that grabs the name. Okay, and then it's building a path from the list of names. Okay, so that makes sense. I'll put that over there, and inside here we want to map over private links object, convert private links object to a list. I'm not sure the shape of this object is returning. So object.entries is like getting just the, oh, because it's an object. Duh. Okay. It's described up here. This is what was confusing to me, is that this is, it returns an object and I need to turn it into an array of things. And so this gets, takes just the entries, which is the keys, or I mean the values, sorry. So let's see. I guess we'll name this something different because it's not actually the files. It is the links object. And then we want to say const links equals object.entries links object. I do not like the way this code looks. We'll come back to it though. Make it work, make it right, make it fast. So let's make it work first. There's our links. Now we want to iterate over those to get the actual posts. We can use the same syntax that they're using, I guess. The await promise.all links.map. Name, don't care what that is. Yep. Return fs.cat. No, let's just scroll down. Wait, getting lost in my there we go. Gotta love Prettier for reordering that mess for me. All right, and then we'll do webnative.path.file, and it's going to be public post's name. Whoops, missing it. Okay, that should give us a list of posts, I believe. And then let's do console log here, post.length. Yeah, because this is going to map over each one and do a cat, which should give me the contents, right? Whoop. Yep, retrieve a file. Well, what does cat return? Some file content at a given path. The content will need to be read as well. So we'll have to figure out how to work with that file content object. Okay. What's this telling me? Argument of type file path is not assignable to. Oh, okay. Directory apparently is a thing. Aha. Thanks, thanks TypeScript. Okay, all right. We're now iterating over, and this should have already refreshed when I don't know why I did that. But we're now iterating over the, okay, when I click this button, we're going to iterate over the posts in my public post directory, and then we'll console log the number of post objects we got returned, or not, file contents objects that were returned. That was fast. Yes, and yes, there are indeed 5. If I go to drive fission codes, and I go to public posts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cool. Okay, so let's do, what is this object? It is a, what? uint array. Apparently this is what file contents are. Is that like a Vision thing, or is that a web native thing, or is that a browser level thing? File contents. Ah, here we go. The file contents that WinFS can store include file content raw, blob, string, number. File content raw is a uint8 array. I wonder if I could do type of here. I think it's the way to do this. Tell me what this thing is. Object, okay. Weird. Surely there is an API doc. Matthews, if you're hanging around right now, man, it'd be nice to know, have a link to the API doc here. It looks like it's a uint8 array, which this was saying that there must be file content raw. And how does one work with file content raw? Let me see if they have those docs maybe. Oh, it's giving me file content raw. Oh, this is the, I don't recognize these docs. Those don't look right. I wonder what that link is to. Let's see, custom domain, app, developer examples, WebAssembly. Well, let's see if there's anything here. Aha, API summary. Not helpful. No worries, Matthias. We will figure it out. That is something that we have to do on this, when live streaming on stuff like this, is work through problems. Okay, troubleshooting. I'm confused. Where are the Fission API docs? I know there's a different API SDK portal site thing than the one that I just saw. And where is that? Let's see. I'm looking for the full APIs. Does it know? All right, let's just try that. Let's just poke at it, see what it does. Yeah, that's a uint8 like file content raw thing. Just roll. Don't think that'll produce anything different. Yep, same thing. Okay, so these silly, is there like another argument I can pass to cat to like cast it to a string? Or do I need to cast it to a string? uint8 to string, JavaScript. File contents, JavaScript. Clearly these docs need to be extended. Actually, let's make a note here. File contents and file contents raw are not adequately documented. Vision Web Native docs. Text decoder. All right. Let's try this. Let's try this. Now that I think about it, I think we have some similar code over here, right? Decode. Yep, here it is, read file. Text decoder. Let content equal this. So the content comes back in chunks. Is that how this works? I wonder if it operates the same way here. I bet the web native file system cat is just wrapping IPFS cat. Oh, Matthias, your last message, you can't paste URLs into YouTube chat, so it was stripped out. But yeah, you should go. I think I found the answer. Which is we're gonna do it this way. So let's see. Let's get the actual content then, and I'm just gonna copy this code over. Const chunk of fs.cat. Let's pull out this file name here into its own variable. Const file path equals that. That'll allow us to say file path here. And do content plus equals decoder decode chunk. We'll just see if it works the same way. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Const decoder equals new text decoder. Whoops. h2 dot decoder dot decode, and then return content. Alrighty, now we should have real decoded content, I think. There's a missing parentheses there, I think. Oh, is this going to be like top level await, blah, 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 blah. and at the top level of modules. Yes. So I may need to do that promise.all thing, which was over here. fs.cat. Oh wait, we already have a promise all here. And so must have an well, okay. So we could do this in a separate, there's no need to do the decoding here. Let's bring that down here. All right, we'll leave this alone. And yes, I don't really understand how promises work. Okay, so this goes up above. And decode the file content. All right, convert the file content raw to string. Boop, boop, do that. Content equals chunk of chunk of content. Wait, okay. Decode the chunk. Where's my other codes is over here. Okay, so this will read the files from IPFS, and then this will take the content that we got from IPFS. Oh, there we go. I know. It's like something's wrong here. We're not lining up here. So there's the posts. For each post, this doesn't feel right to me. Something about this chunking doesn't feel right. Here we go. This was the file. These were the... Man, this is the documentation I was looking for all along. Why I was able to find it by some random Google search, I'm not sure. Okay, so file content raw here is defined in file content. Okay, in the IPFS in the IPFS library. So I was correct in that the way that cat works is from IPFS. Oh, interesting. So we do wrap the buffer. Okay, so we do a little bit of work here so that we don't need to go over chunk by chunk. It should just be decoder.decode the whole file. Okay, that's good to know. So let's make a file contents thing, which will be an array. And then for each post of posts in file contents, sorry, I know I didn't do a great job of explaining what just happened, but I will explain that in a second. Decoder, yes, that was right. Decoder.decode post. Wait, okay. So it's in a uint array. Okay, well, we've hit our first discrepancy between the way that Node works and the things work in the browser. And it's not about Node or the browser. It's the fact that in our Node application, we're using the IPFS JS library directly, which has a different way of dealing with the file contents. The cat, specifically the cat command, the IPFS ls command returns a different thing in IPFS JS than it does in Web Native, and we're dealing with the different outputs there. We're also dealing with the fact that the IPFS Fission's Web Native library is not super well documented, and so it's not clear to me anyway how to get the actual file contents out of these files. So because we are getting some, yeah. So let's take a 5-minute break, and hopefully we can work our way through this when I get back in a few minutes. So. Hey folks, welcome back. Okay, we are now in Pomodoro 3 of 4. So we have 2 more 25-minute work sessions with 1 more 5-minute break in between. And we have been making some progress in moving our static site generator over into mumblr to work from the front end. So let's jump right in. I went ahead and started our next Pomodoro. So we've got 25 minutes of uninterrupted focused work. And all right. Matthias says I should check out uint8 arrays on npm, to which I say, seriously? Like, web native? Okay, sure. One, why is that not documented in the Fission docs? And two, like, ugh, ugh, ugh. All right, but yeah, sure. Thank you for the pointer. I do appreciate it. Whining aside, I do appreciate it. All right. Utility functions for dealing with uint8 arrays. This makes me wonder all sorts of things of like, why is the file encoded in the uint8 array format? Like, can't web native file system like know a little bit more about the files? Clearly Drive does, right? This thing knows, it does a pretty good job of showing the contents here in Fission Drive and showing them as what they are. And so it must be, I'll have to go look at the way that Fission Drive works. In fact, that would probably be a good code base for us to have open while we're going through this. But yeah, all right, let's dive in here. Convert the file content raw, which is a uint8 array to string. You could always just cast post like decode post as uint array, though that may just be a band-aid for the problem. I'm tempted. Don't tempt me, hamburgers. Let's see that. Good old TypeScript band-aid over the problem fix here. And again, the main problem is I don't think text decoder is the right thing. I don't actually know what decode does from our text decoder does, but let's see, text decoder, is that actually dealing with uint8 arrays? Huh. It looks like it might be. So maybe that'll just work. Let's try it. Let's see, console.log. And this time we'll log file contents sub-0. File contents isn't a great name there, but anyway, whatever. Let's jump over here to our, that's Netlify, sorry. Here's our localhost. Click the build button. Hey, thanks hamburgers. I'll roll with that. Sweet. So we have one of our posts contents down here as a string and not a uint8 array. So then, now that we have all of our files, let's see. Sweet. Let's pull this up here so we have access to it. And like I was just saying, this should be, I guess, files contents, not file contents, because it is the multiple files contents. Yeah. And we don't need anything other than the content of the file. We don't do anything in the blog post itself with the title. So this is actually, if you'll notice in my Bear app, I had removed the title field in mumblr. The static site generator completely ignores the title of the, or sorry, the name of the file in the file system. And this is just assigning a name. It just does that, like adds a ND on the end. So this title field is misleading and unnecessary, so we should remove it later. But we don't have to do that right now. So back over here, we now have all of our file contents. Now let's actually build the HTML and CSS. This should be pretty straightforward in the browser. Oh, we do want to sort them. Right. Okay. Ha ha. Okay, a couple things going on here. We now have the file's content, which is great, but we also want to ignore files that don't have a posted at attribute, and then sort the files by timestamp. The timestamp is in, it's not timestamp really, it's posted at. The sort will be fine, but the problem is that we need something to read the front matter. Currently we've been using this front matter right here. Yeah, front matter library. I think we can now move to remark because it works well in the browser, and I wanted to move to that a little while ago, but I had trouble with loading it in TypeScript and Node and all of the things. So let me see. Front matter. I think there's a lightweight version of remark, if I remember. That doesn't do all the things. Let's go just go straight to the remark GitHub repo. Remark.js. There's like a nice little comparison. If I'm thinking about this library, if I'm thinking about the correct library, there's a nice little comparison that says if you want to do this stuff, use remark. If you want to do this other stuff, use this other smaller library. Yeah, when should I use this? Bingo. If you just want to turn Markdown into HTML, we recommend micromark. Yes, that is exactly right. So the question is, with micromark, do I get access to the front matter? Let's see. Yep, it supports an extension for front matter. Cool. Let me see, anything else that jumps out to me? Smallest common mark parser that exists. I don't want to do really something. Just want to do that. Just want to turn it in. Okay. All right. Well, let's try micromark, and then using the front matter extension for micromark should give us what we need in order to ignore files that don't have a posted at, and then we'll sort. Okay, so we will parse the front matter of the file here using remark. Interesting. I was just thinking about maybe instead of just turning the Markdown file into an array of strings, maybe I should turn it into like an array of documents that have both because one of the flaws with mumblr generator is it actually parses, not that this is a big deal, but it parses the file twice, like the FM content, FMA, FMB, FM, all those are front matter parses of the file. So it calls front matter like a ton of times, as opposed to calling it once and storing the object and then looking at the objects. Anyway, not a big deal. Make it work, make it right, make it fast. That's about making it fast. We don't need to do that. So let's just make it work. All right, here we go. Npm install micromark. Micromark. Boop up to the top here. Import micromark from micromark. Cool. And then down here, let's convert them to micromarky things and then see what we get. You can pass extensions, in this case, the GFM extension. Ooh, that's kind of nice. I may actually want to use GFM instead of, because that's a style of writing or a Markdown flavor that I'm actually more familiar with than interesting. Something I've been thinking about around this architecture is that with the browser, yeah, by doing this in the browser, there's a possibility for we could let the user customize exactly which extensions they want passed into Micromark. So they could specify the flavor of Markdown that they want to use to interpret things. All right, well, here we go. So this decoder gives us the file contents, but what I would like to do is probably parse them once into Markdown posts. And so let's do that. Let's make this Markdown posts. And convert the string to micromark. Yeah, that's kind of what I want to do. See what you can do, Copilot. Oh, right. I now need to define files contents again. Const files contents is an array. Oh, missing a parentheses here. There we go. Parsed posts, and then we want to parsed posts. Okay, so now we can come over here. Oh, right. When we do the, sorry, I've been letting GitHub Copilot run for a second here. Also starting to get some slowness on my machine in general. Kernel task. Basically means my machine is heating up as it heats up in here. This is the heat wave I was talking about and why we are not currently at the lake because it's so hot outside right now. It's even, my air conditioner is struggling to keep up and cool my machine off. Okay, so, all right. Here's how we parse things using micromark. We pass in extensions. So I do want to pass in the extension of front matter. All right, pop that up in a separate window. Go ahead and assume that we're going to get that installed here in a second. Okay, looks like pass in the content and the extensions list. Extensions, and then this will be front matter, probably something like that. We don't have access to it yet. That's okay. We will in a second. And I wonder how this will work, because front matter should be stored as like a separate object. Like it shouldn't just be. Oh, so front matter just strips off the front matter? Okay, how does front matter work? Because like what front matter should do is it should divide the file into a set of like an object with the properties we want and the file itself, or the, sorry, Markdown file itself, which this is actually great. I'm excited to switch to this because there's this really hacky portion right here of parsing the Markdown that I've been doing in Marked, where Marked doesn't recognize front matter, and so I had to manually strip off the front matter at the beginning of the file, and I do not like that. I rather that be supported by a library that has lots of tests and can support lots of different kinds of Markdown formats. So, right. I must have missed it right here. Okay, I must have scrolled by it. It says the output of feeding this in with the front matter extension. I don't know what front matter HTML does. Yields this HTML. Maybe you can call front matter directly on the file, and then you get back the front matter. Matter defined by, yep. I know it can be YAML or TOML. That's great. Lots of different ways to say it. Huh. Are there more docs than just this? Remark front matter. Let's see if the remark front matter, which I think that plugin should work the same way. Has better documentation. Front matter is a metadata format in the context of content, typically written in blah, 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 blah. All right, here we go. Here's how they do it. Wait, this is unified, which apparently is the renamed. Node example. So this is reading an example.md file that looks like that. Okay, it does return. Let's just see what it returns. I've been agonizing over this. I should probably just console log it and see what happens. Expected it to be a little better documented, but hey, you know how it goes. You know how it goes. This would be parsed post sub-0. Oh, right. I do need to npm install front matter. I've been trying to understand how the library works and didn't actually install it. So this is the extension. Let's grab that real quick. Copy, paste, and copy that. I don't know why it has this HTML extensions thing. I'm going to ignore that for now. Okay. I love that that's 5.1K. Tiny little thing. All right, so over here to our build. Let's hit build and see what we get. Interesting. So we got, for the first three things, oh, that's very confusing. So it did drop the front matter off the beginning, which is cool. Type of, I assume that this thing is a string. Yeah, it is. Okay, so we're getting strings back from micromark, but again, not sure what actually happened to the front matter. So I think if I omit this line here, comment this out, I should get the entire thing with the front matter. Why did it, why is it turning it into HTML? Right, because that's the whole point of micromark. Okay, so yes, all right. So you'll note here, it is trying to read the front matter and posting that. So now I can, that allows me to ignore the front matter, which is great, but what I really want to do is read the front matter. Are there options? Dangerous HTML, options.extensions. Google it. Let's see. Micromark, read front matter. How do I get content, front matter and content? That is what I wanted to know as well. So I need to read and get its front matter as well as the normal Markdown content. If I do this, I get the normal part converted to HTML, but the front matter is gone. If I remove the remark HTML plugin, I get the entire content of the file, including, if I remove the remark HTML plugin, I get the entire content of the file, including the front matter, but it's not separated. Ah, remark extract front matter. There we go. I wonder if there's a micromark extract front matter. Nope. So all it's going to do is ignore it for me, which means that I probably will need to go to, I'll probably need to move to full remark, or unified as it's called. The thing that's surprising though, yeah. So the goal of this is just to filter out the front matter entirely. Okay, well, that is nice, but it doesn't do what we need to do. Still kind of surprised that there's no way to get one preset or matter or an array of them. Right now I'm reading the documentation very carefully because I don't want to move to remark if I don't have to, and if the micromark extension actually does it. So looks like there's a set of options that I could be passing into front matter here. And I'm wondering if one of these options might be something that helps us do what we want to do. So goodness, front matter options. Front matter HTML, apparently both support the same options. Two functions that can be called with options to get an extension from micromark to part front matter. Pass an extension and one to compile, ignore them. Whoa, and one to compile or ignore them. Oh, here we go. Functions that can be called, get an extension for micropress. No, that's not really it. Options, one preset or matter or an array of them defining all the separate front matters. Yep, we know it supports YAML and TOML. An object with a type. Okay, so you can define your own way of defining front matter. Yeah, All right, that seems to be it. Okay, cool. Well, we've made some progress in the last 25 minutes. We have one more 25-minute work session remaining, and we're hitting some of the things that we talked about at the beginning of moving from a node-based application to a browser-based application. We're actually moving between libraries. I could go back to the marked library and use marked and front matter, but I think that that is a short-term fix to the problem. We should probably be targeting getting micromark working and getting the front matter parsing working with micromark. So when I come back, I'd say that all that to say, no surprise that we are where we are, but we're actually really close because the HTML and CSS, once we have this parsed, which we do, once we can get access to the front matter and sort it appropriately, we actually have a lot of what we need to build the HTML and CSS. It's already getting built by micromark and soon to be remark. And then it's a simple matter of putting that into IPFS, a simple matter of programming. And that shouldn't be too bad given that we're already using the web native library up here to write a file to IPFS. So we've already done the hard part of figuring out how to write. So we just need to copy that and write some different stuff. All right. I'm going to take a 5-minute break. I got an interesting text from my wife wondering if the air conditioner on our house had gone out. You may have heard me reference the heat wave several times in this work session. So I'm going to take a 5-minute break and come back for our last 25-minute work session and go check on our air conditioner while I do it. So talk to you in just a second. All right, here we are, ready for our last Pomodoro, a last 25-minute work session, and see how far we can get. I did go inside and check. Our air conditioner inside of our house is indeed not working. So hilarious that we left the beach or left the camper where we have a working AC at the lake to avoid the heat and came back, and our air conditioner has now stopped working at our house. Hopefully we can get somebody else out here to fix it, but no reason that I can't take advantage of this wonderful air conditioner that I have in my office and continue working on this and see if we can get a little further along with our moving the static site generator in. So again, this is our last 25-minute work block. We've got 25 more minutes to wrap up this live stream session, and let's see how far we can get. So I was futzing with a new library to parse Markdown into HTML. It's called MicroMark. It is based on or part of the sort of remark universe. The problem with using it though is it will strip off the front matter from when parsing, which is awesome, but it does not give me the front matter in a way that I can use and manipulate. So we're actually going to have to move from MicroMark to the full-fledged remark. Remark is still a really nice extension. Will be an upgrade over what we've been doing before. But we are, yeah, it's, which apparently it's called Unified now. I don't know. I don't understand their branding here, but let's go ahead and change that. Should be doing this on a branch, static site, build site from browser. And we do not need MicroMark anymore. Install MicroMark. Install MicroMark extension front matter. All right, now we should have a package. What's up with package lock? Oh, weird. Did I not change that? Whatever. Okay. So now let's jump over to here. We're going to install I guess, is it called Unified? Npm Install. Goodness gracious. Okay, what is this? Examples. All right. Okay, so it's just npm install remark. And then the other thing we'll need to install is the library. And we'll want the extract front matter extension. That as well. Remark extract front matter. Stores the what and a v what? Store front matter for Markdown. Okay. To v file. The heck is a v file? Well, let's hope that this. Let's start by swapping in just the remark. Let's get our example over here. Unified from unified apparently is the thing. And we're not going to need this one as well. And then down here, we'll grab, boop. Wait, what did we have here before? Unified. And it looks like it's, you string them together with function calls like this. Dot use remark front matter. Dot process content. And let's see what that does. Build cannot process without a parser. Okay, so maybe we do need the remark parser thing. Where was my example? Too many windows open, or too many tabs open. Here it is, okay. Do I not have remark parse? I bet I don't. Oh, maybe I do. Use remark parse. I'm not sure what rehype or stringify or any of that other stuff is. So we'll just leave this with those things and click a button. Cannot process without compiler. What? Unified process. What am I missing in terms of a compiler? What is unified.js? V-file. Is that V-file thing again? So maybe remark is the compiler? Okay, maybe I should actually read the docs. What is this? You can use this plugin to turn Markdown into HTML. That into that. Yep. You can use plugins. Great. Don't really care. You can use Remark for many different things. Unified is the core project that transforms content with ASTs. Remark adds support for Markdown to Unified. Remark parse is a plugin to take Markdown as input, turn it into a syntax tree. Ah, so we do need to stringify it at the end. Because after remark parse, it's just an AST. And that's not what we want. So there. Stringify. I have a feeling this is going to end up being a way heavier solution than I like, but not exactly sure how to simplify it yet. And that does give me this v-file thing. And apparently I'm going to need to learn about v-files real quick. That was what I really wanted to do today, let me tell you. Okay, turning Markdown into HTML. Let's go back and look at this one more time. What the heck is rehype? Good grief. Oh, apparently that's the thing it turns it into HTML. Okay. Boop. Remark. Rehype. Rehype. Now we're going to rehype it before we stringify it. Ay, ay, ay. Probably not. So apparently I need to do an npm install. Remark. Rehype. There we go. Build. Cannot handle unknown element. Apparently my import of remark rehype wasn't correct. Plugin that turns Markdown into HTML. Npm install did that. Import rehype. Good grief. Okay, that looks right. Format, document, format, stringify. Gosh, this API is like funky. The way you pass in all these uses. Okay, supporting HTML and Markdown naively. So there's my unified, parse, stringify, and rehype. And then we pass it in, remark parse, remark rehype, remark stringify. Wait, but this is processing HTML. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Allow HTML in our okay, what am I missing here? Why is this not working? Uncaught, handle, object root, something in stringify. Do I have these in the wrong order? Rehype, stringify. No. Remark parse, front matter, rehype, stringify. Oh, it's rehype stringify. Goodness, why did that even succeed? What a strange thing. Who knows what remark stringify is and what I just npm installed on my system. Well, I didn't actually npm install anything. So it's kind of weird. That just ran without. Right, okay. Okay, we're here, appears to be working. Build. Sweet. And it is converting it into HTML in the value thing of this v file. Okay, then the next thing we'll want to do is add the remark extract front matter. Here's the README. extract front matter. Okay, let's do an Npm install real quick. Yeah, it's starting to feel like way heavier than I want it to be, but I guess we don't really have a lot of choice of import extract from remark. So we'll use that after we parser. The compiler is stringify. We are using front matter. We need our YAML thing. Oh, what? Now I'm really confused. So what is this? Require YAML.parse. I guess that's the YAML parser. Okay, maybe. All right, back over here to our application. Build require is not defined. Yeah, okay, that just looked weird. So the way that this should work, it's not a require, I need to do an import, I think. So I need to pass in the, oy vey. Use extract, name, oh, you can specify which key it will store that in. So import YAML from YAML. Or no, import parse, I think, from YAML. I think that's how that works. Oops. I think it's saying get this specific function from. All right, apparently I need YAML as well. Okay. Now let's try it. Whoa, look at this. Here we go. Data. No. So we got the HTML we wanted, but it didn't write out the front matter into the V file that I can see. And all of these files do have front matter in them. Yeah, I think. Yes, they do. Okay, and why did it not write it out? Let's see. So here's our Remac extract front matter README. Let's look at their process function here. Read sync. So here's reading example MD, and it looks like it's writing it to data. The file to string. Will output that and that. I don't understand the 2v file dot read sync, what that line is doing. You would think this would be throwing an error if it was not working correctly. Passing in the parser. Well, let's just try .data. I don't think that's gonna work, but let's see. Yeah, it is empty. There are no, so the parsing is not writing to data as we expect. And if I just write to string, what do I get here? Does it still have the parser? Maybe it's the fact that I'm going to rehype that's the problem. Man. Nope. So if I leave the front matter in, what if I take rehype out? Cannot compile unknown node YAML. What? Maybe I need to do it before. You would think there would be good documentation for how this works, but I'm not seeing it. Hey, there we go. Okay, cool. So apparently it was some magic in the ordering of these unified things. So now we actually have, wow, it's working. That's awesome. So there's our object that gives us the posted at date. Oh, man, that was way, all right, so now, man, I'm super annoyed with that. All right, and console log, how much time do we have left? 3 minutes. Length. Will be an array. Oh, come on. How do I tell this thing it's an array? Oh, I don't want to, yeah, return post.data post.not equal unified. Sure. Why is it complaining at me? Block? What? Equals parsed post. I'm missing something here. Oh, that. Silly. All right, how many valid posts? There are 4 valid posts, that's correct. So if we get this, we have 5 posts. 1 is properly filtered out because it doesn't have the right thing. Whew! All right, we're almost there. Now we just need to sort by most of the sorting code I already have written once. Let's just copy it over. Valid posts. Let's not copy it over. Let's rewrite it. A comma B, arrow function, open a function. We already have front matter, so now I can just do return new date. It should be valid posts dot data dot posted at dot get time minus not valid posts. It's A dot, and this is B dot. And actually we want to swap those, B and A. Not sure why it's whining at me here. Probably, yep. You know what? I think I can get away with removing the typing here. Wait, what? bfile.data. No overload matches this call. Are we getting... Let's comment that out real quick. Let's get valid posts. 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. We're so close to having this working. Valid posts dot or sub0 dot data dot posted at. Let's see if that works. Yep, works fine. So then why is this complaining at me? It should have, I'm trying to sort an array. Oh, probably because this. I mean, that's bad anyway. I couldn't redefine the contents of the JavaScript arrays. I can reorder them. This is confusing. Okay. Typecasting. Does it work? Let's see. Markdown posts equals that. Oh, no. Do want to do that. 2 Markdown posts here. Fix that, and then sort it in place. Okay, now we just need to build the HTML and CSS. Now, what we've been doing, I'm not going to be able to get to this today. I'm going to have to stop. Okay, the sensible thing to do is to wrap this up. We're already over by a few minutes. The good news is we got, let me go knock out these console logs. We made some serious progress today. We got importing, we have a button set up inside here to build. We switched libraries from marked and front matter to the remark ecosystem. It's way more complicated than I'd like. I'm looking at what the gzip size of all these libraries will be when we end up loading them into the front end. In order to do this parsing, but it's necessary, unfortunately, unless there's like a, single purpose, whatever. We're going to use this set of libraries for now. We can see about making it faster later. And then we have replicated the ability to ignore files that don't have the appropriate posted at and sort the files by posted at date. And so now we need to build the HTML and CSS. This will be a really fun one to work on because in mumblr generator, a little sneak preview of next time, we have this template HTML file, which is where we basically embed in that div right there the blog itself. And so one of the things that's cool about the structure of the way that this works is we can actually allow the user to edit their template in the mumblr front end, and we can save that template as well to IPFS. And so it can be their data in terms of like they can edit and update the template separate from sort of this. It's sort of, if you think about it, it's kind of one of the settings of the application. And we can do the same thing, interestingly enough, with the CSS. So if you go to public CSS, this is the style of the application. We can have that style CSS be something that is completely customizable by the end user. And as Matthias pointed out, doing all of this in the browser means that we can give you a live preview of the website as you update the HTML, update the CSS, and it reads the files from the from IPFS. Anyway, pretty exciting stuff. There's some really nice wins that we're going to get by moving this over to the front end, and I'm pretty excited that we have made it as far as we have. I wish we could have made it further, but we ran into you know, Markdown issues, and also had to work through how to actually use LS to read things that are uint8 formatted, which is annoying but necessary. Okay, cool. Well, thanks for joining me for Coding with Jess, where you code along with me while I build a thing. This has been a really fun session working on Mumblr, our decentralized blogging application. Thanks for hanging out. We'll be back again next Wednesday. Just keep an eye out on the Mumblr GitHub repo, as I'll probably be doing a little bit of work here and there and throughout the week leading up to next week's live stream. But thanks for hanging out, and look forward to hanging out with you again next Wednesday. Have a great day.